You should know me better.
I should have started that before we got started.
Oh,
I'm getting used to it. So now it's recording.
Let's not go back.
Well, thank you. We continue to be pleased by innkeeper tax revenue as we're tracking that as well. And one thing that I will continue to work with you all on is to make sure that we're reporting the same numbers as you guys. And so I'll be working with Commissioner Bramer and make sure that we're tracking right. Again, I think the numbers they're all the same at the end of the day, but it's just a matter of when they go into the account versus we tend to look at when they are accrued, because we want to know when that actually happens. It doesn't really matter when they come to the account, whereas for you all, it matters when the money hits your account. So, but we'll continue to work with you on that.
We reported for the month they stayed.
For the month they stayed?
Mhm.
Okay,
So
Well,
that December number was the collections for December.
okay. Well, we'll work on that,
And
because I was,
if I may, I mean, from a business standpoint, you guys want it in real time if you could. You
yeah,
know, we don't care because we have the meeting at the end of the month.
yeah.
We typically get it about 5 to 7 days after the month closes is when
Okay,
the treasurer's office or the auditor's office lets us know what was posted
okay.
right after the month ends.
Well, either way, we had a very good year, and I think that's whether the numbers, however the numbers work out for you guys, for us, on the innkeeper's tax revenue. What we're seeing is still a very strong year for innkeeper's tax revenue, and I said it at a couple other meetings in the past. I think this goes back to the strong marketing that this board has invested in Madison and Jefferson County over the last 5 years or so. The work of Sarah and the investment of Jefferson County and the city of Madison in so much that's going on here. So that's really it's a win-win across the board for investment in this community and seeing that return through innkeeper's tax.
Andrew, can I ask a quick
Yeah.
question? So Curtis had what, 16.2
Yeah,
was
the increase from last year.
that's what you have?
No, I had from what we tally up from local collections and marketplace for the year, I had 748, 241. Which is an increase of 39% versus the 16%. So that's where I wanna get
What was your
That's a-
percentage? I didn't hear you. I was thinking.
39%
Okay.
increase.
So
Yeah.
obviously, I mean, we don't need to do it right now, but obviously we need to have that discussion
Yeah,
and figure out,
Yeah.
that timing and.
yeah, because I mean, we're pulling just like you guys
Yeah.
from the online stats from the state and then getting it from the county collections. So we'll figure it out, but
Okay.
yeah, it's weird. Because we've had a little bit of discrepancy each month, but this is the largest, but it may be the compound of each month into the year.
Okay.
So, but we'll work that out.
But we can discuss that outside of here to try
Yeah.
to, okay.
But overall, it still is a very strong year for Jefferson County.
I like your numbers better.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
Sure, if that was how much was in the bank.
Yeah.
We can't spend that.
So.
Yeah. Yeah, so, but we gotta know, and you guys have to know for your budgeting
Sure.
purpose, but I am a little more guarded on the occupancy. You know, I think those numbers continue to be strong, but they're not exceptional as far as occupancy rates. I think some activities that we had here in Jefferson County from local hoteliers at Clifty Inn, some of their winter rates that they run, some of their specials, and with Cotton Mill running the New Year's Eve party. I think that kind of buoyed our numbers for the month, and that was a welcome sign in December. So that was good. And like I said, we continue to be very happy with what we're seeing as a result of the marketing that we're doing. We are excited about hosting various meetings, small conferences over the next coming months. Indiana Tourism Association, we're going to get them here for a meeting. We'll have Historic Michigan Road Association will be coming here as well. So these are going to be small day conferences, or maybe two. You might have a few people staying overnight, but again, that's those weekday people that I think we can continue to grow moving forward. And we plan to go to the Heartland Travel Showcase and continue to start attracting more of these small conferences, group tours, bus tours, that we need to sustain those Monday through Thursday time periods. And then we've even got a few things late in this year and even for next year that we're gonna be working on as far as small conferences. So things are really picking up. People are seeing the possibility of Madison thanks to our facilities that we have here. We are working on American Queen stops for 2023. We're gonna have 8 of them. And it's exciting. It's all gonna be the American Countess. So unfortunately, we won't have the American Queen. We're not scheduled to have the American Queen here this year, but it's their mid-sized boat that will be coming. So could be around 200 guests each time. And so there's some really positive things for our historic sites that get to be a part of that day. And we don't take a penny for the coordination of those events. When they come, we negotiate a year-long agreement with American Queen Steamboat Company. We pass through a per person fee to all of the historic sites. That's something that we do to make sure that they get what they deserve for having the sites open, and we still coordinate the guides, the routes, all of that. But it's something that's very positive for Madison and for our sites and the whole community. So we'll continue to work on the American Queen. We're going to try and make it a big welcome. I may have mentioned this to you all before, but trying to have music on the riverfront when people get off the ship. Maybe even have some pop-up stores or some things like that. We're going to have some photo booth opportunities where people can get their picture with Madison in the background. Has a frame on it that says the date I was on the American Queen, visited Madison, Indiana. That gets sent to them text right away. And so then they get to post on their social media. It's free advertising for us. So we're going to be doing some things like that, trying to really up our welcome for those passengers, but also include a little promotion as well.
My wife and I are gonna be passengers for one of those this year.
All
We're
right.
gonna go from Pittsburgh to Louisville, and I was trying to get off at Madison, but my wife says, no, we're going.
Fantastic.
We'll let you know. That's
Yes,
the point.
you'll have
We
to.
should coordinate.
Yeah, I want to know, there's some things that we'll want to know.
Yeah.
We had a couple other community members that have gone in the recent past and have given us some tips about things that we might want to improve. And just some general coordination with American Queen Steamboat Company. I'm looking forward to getting more materials in their hands. They said they're willing to pass things out to passengers before they come to Madison. So on their bed the night before has all about Madison. They get to do some research on Madison, learn a little bit more. The other thing I'd like to do is have them show either the movie Madison or Some Came Running on board the ship before they come here. So again, just some of those little things that we can do with them to really make Madison a memorable stop for those passengers.
And you were talking about the picture with the frame.
Mm-hmm.
A couple years ago, I did one of the tours on the yellow boat to Frankfurt.
Yeah.
And when we docked in Frankfurt, as our feet stepped onto the dock, there was someone from Frankfurt Tourism with the frame and camera to take pictures and text them to us. So
Yeah.
that is something that's notable.
It's a way to, again, it's free advertising, but it also makes people feel very positive about their visit. And it's something that is very low cost for us. And we're gonna be able to use the iPads for that purpose, but also for events throughout the year and taking cards during Riverfest and things like that. So overall, very positive addition to our stop for the guests. That's really the main things I wanted to touch on. There's a lot more happening for Visit Madison right now, but I'll leave it at that and we can jump over to marketing before we get back to the contract discussion. Thank you.
Is anybody attending the Louisville Boat and RV show this weekend? You guys have a booth there again, or?
Not this year for us. There was somebody that we talked to, I don't know if it was Paul and Janet with Rock and Thunder.
Typically Paul and Janet go and they take guides and they talk about Madison on our behalf, really, but I don't know about this year.
He talked to me about that a few weeks ago, and I need to remember if he was just taking a packet of brochures or what he was
The
taking.
VMI is not
No,
having a booth like in the past.
No, we don't have a booth. I think that's something.
Not
we can
sure
do in
what's
the
in there
future.
before, but I'm.
Yeah, you guys have been there before.
I think,
And I know, Guttersville's, we're coming up to set up to promote their regatta,
yeah,
so.
I think in the past, if I remember right from being on BMI's board, it was probably, you might not have been on board just yet. But I think Regatta went and they partnered with Rock and Thunder maybe and VMI, and it was kind of a all hands in for Madison between Regatta, VMI and Rock and Thunder. So I think that's something we can and should do again.
We've been a part of the Indy one, but only from a co-op standpoint with Visit Indiana. I would go up and donate my time, and then I would be able to take Visit Madison stuff, and then that would sit there along with everything Indiana, from Visit Indiana, and then, anyway.
What's the Heartland show?
The heart, okay.
Heartland Travel?
Heartland is mostly tour bus operators in the Midwest. And so we set up appointments with tour bus operators. They come from, there's some of them from the New England area, there's some of them from the Midwest. But we show off Madison and start trying to get them to add Madison to their tour lists for
How many tour buses we had last year?
not many. It was on our report and I don't, it wasn't many. We're down. COVID really knocked that number down because operators stopped during COVID and that industry has taken a little while to rebound. But what we're seeing from some of these companies, they're looking ahead at 24 for really seeing a bounce back. The other thing is they've had to shift some of their marketing because those trips aren't quite as popular anymore because you're getting a changing demographic. I mean, I think about my grandparents, they loved bus tours. It's not necessarily as popular with baby boomers. So they're trying to shift those to be not as much jump on a bus, see someplace through a window and get off a few places. They're really trying to tie in experiences. So a number of the buses are stopping at places like Derby Dinner Playhouse, going to a casino. It's about going somewhere and having an experience, not as much sightseeing. So I think there's some opportunities for us to put together some of those experiences. That's why we're going to Heartland, trying to dip our toe in the water with bus tours again, but I want to get to ABA, American Bus Association, in 24. That's going to be a little bit bigger lift, and I want to make sure we have our stuff together for that.
Numbers? Just to kind of give you an idea, 2019, the pre-COVID, last time we had a great fruitful year, that was about 34. The year before that was 39, and then 2020 was 4, 21 was 8, and 22 was up to 13. So it's growing back, and that's what our industry is saying as well.
Sarah, you wanna go ahead?
Sure.
Thank you.
A lot of my time, since I've seen you, plus, and will continue until the next time I see you, is really getting this Experience Madison guide, done, so that we can get that out to our tourism partners and get it out on the streets. We are basically out. We have like maybe 50 to 70 copies at the visitor center, and we continue to get a lot of requests. So as we put a purchase order in for the amount that we printed all together last year up front. So we will always monitor that and report back, but working on that constantly, and then just really have a solid list, master list of all the 2023 events. I was able to take what Scott gave us at the last meeting, and I added those to our master list. You know, anything I felt was very tourism driven, so the Forest Power, that their holiday stuff, and I can't remember the other ones, but alongside everything else that's going on in Jefferson County and Madison. So trying to get the the tear pads and the magnets that we do, that we give to businesses and, around town so that we can start getting that information out there. Working, on this, Great Day Live Hometown Crowd partnership. We're doing this itinerary idea where we're taking the itineraries that we created last year and launched on our new website. And we're going to, do segments, 8 segments on them. We are doing heading to Hanover. That was a new itinerary last year, and Peter actually did sign on board for that, so they will be helping to invest his section. The chamber is investing on theirs, and so we're excited to work with all of our other partners and bring a great segment all at the end of March. So it'll tease it all through March. They're going to be here on March 3rd to do some recording, and so we're working on all those details. It's tedious a little bit, but it'll all be good in the end. And then I believe we have access to all the footage that they take. You already talked about the Heartland. We will be also going to the Visit Indiana Media Marketplace, which is something the Visit Indiana has done over the years. And they bring media and different social media influencers into one room, and we have a table, and it's kind of like similar to Heartland, where we have a booth and the group tours are going around. It's kind of pitching that idea to them about either coming to Madison or doing an article on them, or you know, sponsoring on some kind of social media. So excited to go there. We had an ICA professional development a couple weeks ago, or last week was it? Learned a lot about the Gen Z demographic, which is crazy. The oldest Gen Z person is 25 right now. So just learning how they like to be marketed to and what all that means. And so a lot of interesting information there. But we also were graced with the presence of keynote speaker and industry leader Mara Gast, and she is the DMO executive director at Irving, Texas. But she's just been an industry leader for that long, and just a powerful message and everything that she brought. There's so much to share about CVBs and DMOs and their history and where they're at and where they're, and just how important that we are to economic development and getting the seat at the table. And I commend Mr. Steinhardt here for doing that ever since he's been at the city. He has always called me up before he came in, like, you need to know about this, let's talk. So just, it's so uncanny to have that happen and then have this professional development, because there are CVDs and DMOs that are having a hard time having relationships with government and economic development. So it was just really, really cool. But anyway, she quotes, "It all starts with a visit, and the visit starts with us." This tourism in here. So, and then if you see on my report, there is she was famous for this this diagram and this destination management cycle. If you build a place where people want to live, you'll build a place where people want to work. If you build a place where people want to work, you build a place where businesses need to be. If you build a place where business has to be, you build a place where people have to visit. If you build a place people want to visit, you build a place where people want to live. And so it's just that continual destination management cycle, and why destination marketing is so important, because it goes beyond just so much. It comes down to that quality of place and quality of life, and we contribute to that greatly here and why we're here. So I just thought you guys would like that diagram, be able to post it up and be able to remind yourselves why you guys are doing what you're doing, and why we work together. As far as a couple of statistics here, our website was for December was 86% over last year for new users and up 123 over sessions. So our website continues to grow, and it's just exciting to see those numbers. And then Facebook page views are up 134%, and page reach was up 15%. And the top video was my Experience Madison, Indiana. And Instagram didn't come in so hot, so again, it always sometimes means it's just because of what was posted last year versus this year, you know, sometimes. And I also had help last year that helped with having, engagement, having, you know, help. So anyway, there's a lot more other things, but that's what we got. And, you know, I also turned into the DMI board. I didn't give it to you guys, I forgot, but I have an extensive, marketing report for that I spent time on for the night's events, which I did for Chautauqua and for Riverfest. So,
Sarah, thank you.
you're welcome.
Do we have, economic impacts yet from those events or?
Oh.
For Riverfest and,
Yeah.
nights, and was it at the December meeting?
No, I don't think so.
Cause I missed the
No.
December meeting. The November meeting, they said they were still working on it.
Yeah, I think we've gone over maybe Riverfest and maybe Chautauqua, but I don't know about nights. So I'll try and get that to you.
Okay.
I'll do that as a follow-up.
That's a great point. Tony and I were talking about that a couple weeks ago or whatever, that one of the things that I would like to have this year is that, you know, hey, this festival or this weekend, or, you know, it generated $600,000, it generated 4.2. You know, that type of stuff is vitally important in how we continue to, yeah, I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just gonna, whenever you're done, I was gonna add to it.
No, I think those numbers are vitally important. I mean, they kind of stand alone. They really help out in understanding what we want to invest into more.
And I think you'd probably be interested for rodeo. Some of those we've already done, some of the placer data and EIC. But if I just had it all in one package, to say, here's all of it, here's the placer data and here's the EICs for each of these events. And then you guys can take a look through that. I think, would that be helpful?
Okay.
Yeah.
know, just to be, you know, point blank, like when you take a look at Chautauqua and Riverfest and Regatta, like those are staples, right? I mean, I want to know those numbers. And we all want to know those numbers because the guard before us used to go to Madison Bank and Trust and, you know, try to gather whatever info they could off deposits, you know, and whatever they had to do to get that information. That was the data that they had back then. But now we have it at our fingertips. But whenever we're investing into rodeo, like it sounds great, grand and wonderful. But if we, you know, we have those numbers and they're like, hey, this was a home run, then we know what to do next. The horsepower, you know, if we choose as a board to invest into horsepower here in a little bit, you know, I don't want them to come back next year and we're like, well, I think it went well. I hope it went well. Like, we want to be able to, with conviction, say it wasn't a good one, tweak this, add this, what would you have done differently? Or yes, we absolutely will write the same check we did last year or more.
Prior to Andrew's onboarding, and since we've gotten the tool, I feel like VMI has been very proactive in reaching out to these events and giving them that link to get the information. If not, you've tagged me on several events and said, hey, get with Sarah, fill this out. So I feel like we're putting ourselves out there and you know, whatever. I mean, if you don't see it and we haven't reached out, you feel free to bring it up, but we asked the rodeo to do it and I don't believe that they have.
Okay.
But we've got some placer data from that.
It's pretty easy because before we approve another request, we can hold
Well,
on to
isn't
that
that
request
something we
until we
talked about?
get.
And doing in the grant cycle was we need to set a time when you are to report back, whether it be 6 weeks, 3 months.
Yeah.
And at that time, is that adequate?
Yeah.
To give them, you know, to have that information, is that adequate time?
Right, within 3 days.
So, I mean, to me, that's part of, you know.
We could have it by our next meeting after the event. I mean, we meet at the end of the month, you know, I mean, we should be able to have it the month after.
Yeah.
I think the thing is whoever's doing, like, I can tell you from an inside our organization, you know, Erin, you know, she's trying to button up all these finances with all these different vendors and all this stuff, and it takes time and it's not as easy, readily available as you would think it would be.
Right, and that's why I'm asking you, like, would it be like what's a good time? 6 weeks, 3 months?
I would love to, I would think so.
Yeah, I mean, the.
I mean, we need to be realistic,
Yeah,
but we
like-
need to have our numbers and we need to have the adequate feedback.
Like Tony said, we can have the placer data within days. It's the EIC that has to take into account how much was spent on hotel rooms from the festival, how much was spent actually on the grounds, on wristband, some of those reconciling some of the finances. So some of this we can turn around, the next week. Some of it may take, I think within 90 days after an event, things should
Do
be
you think
buttoned
that's
up.
adequate? 3
I
months?
So the
think-
placer is a pretty good
For us to know.
indication
Yeah.
of how many people were here and the percentage of outside of there.
I think that's something we need to put in our structure.
I agree.
With the contract, that you have 3 months to. And actually, we should just do a 3 month, that'd be what our meeting is they're on the agenda to report back.
I think that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, I think even, to piggyback on what Wendy and you guys are saying, just having that placer data at our next meeting, just to have that for some foundation, and then if it's January, for example, then hey, we'll have that in April. And make sure you guys put it down, and hey, just to remind everybody, we did discuss it in January, we had the placer data that said this, and this is April, and here's the data that we have, it coincides with January. I mean, that's just checkpoints.
Just historically working with, Riverfest. And of course, the size of the event impacts what I'm about to say. But with Riverfest, finalizing the numbers, from what I see from Aaron, really it is just about a 90-day cycle. Now, Regatta is a much larger event. It may take them more than 90 days, but certainly that 90 days, I would expect they could give us at least a preliminary report if they needed additional time to finalize some other numbers, because that is a much larger event, many more vendors, many more expenses, many more sponsors. So it might well take them more time than the 90 days, but looking at Riverfest, 90 days feels like a good amount of time based on what I've seen in the past.
Well, we can request 90 days. Not everybody may be able to meet 90 days,
Yeah.
and that's okay, but they'll come back
Yeah,
and
I think
say,
it's- but I
hey,
do
we're not
think
gonna make
it's-
it, it's gonna be
Yeah.
another month, but I think
Important
that.
to put in that
But at
Oh, yeah,
contract.
yeah.
At
that's
least a
fine.
response
with
at
them.
90 days.
Yes. And to, what you guys were talking about, having the Riverfest Chautauqua, the things that you guys do, it's a great benchmark for these new ones. So when we can base that off that really helps, because if they have the same number of people or a quarter of it, well, then they should have a quarter of that. Yeah, I see.
Do these organizations actually have the capacity to put this data together? I mean,
It's a simple questionnaire now. It narrows down to a really simple, like 8
It's a Google-
questions. Is that what's on there?
It's a Google input form, basically, it's a Google form, I would say 8, but yeah, 8 to 10 maybe.
Yeah,
And each question explains what it is, because some people might not understand what it is. And so, we've always been available to answer those and follow up with questions, like, unfortunately with Regatta this last time, the previous president gave numbers that the current president was like, they just had a lot of disputes, so I have no idea where they stand with their EIC.
the reason I asked the question is, are we asking people to do something they don't know how to do or can't do?
No, if they're working with the numbers of the event, they know how many tickets are sold, they know, there's a lot of knowns.
and really the questionnaire was made to make it as
As
EIC for dummies kind of thing, really is what it is.
Right, and that's something we could include with the contract.
Yeah.
You just include that and give that to them,
Yes.
and then just say you can return it to
So
you.
we-
To know a lot of, after a lot of
It's the same,
events.
Would you be able
People
to
are
send
ready
that
for a nap.
out just so we could see what is on it? I've
Yeah.
never seen that link,
Well,
so.
I'll include that when I send the reports of the events of this last year.
Placer data.
Placer data.
We can do that. We can do that.
The placer data is a geocached area, right? So we geofence an area, which is basically the area of a festival. You geofence that area and that data is available 3 days, so you'll know you'll know heat maps of where everybody attended, right? So there'll be a map that shows hot pink, well, that was a lot of people versus little dots, right? And you see the whole country, or you can zoom into Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky. You'll be able to determine, what was the household income of those attending, and all the way down to their age.
Seeing their
groups.
visitor path.
Yeah, seeing their visitor path, where did they go from when they left that geo area, where did they go? Did they go to Walmart, or did they go to, the tap room, and, what was their second stop, right? So there's a lot of that data we can pull right away that I think will start to actually help inform us on some things that are broader than just EIC data, but
Especially tourism.
and, we're using it, the police department used it during Chautauqua to try to understand where the busiest intersections were. Come to find out it's Craigmont Street, and, everybody would think it's 421, but the busiest intersection is Craigmont Street, because most of our visitors, we found out, big Indianapolis contingent, and most of those go out to 65 or up 7, so, it can be used for a lot of different things. And again, we just had this since August, so we're sort of learning from it too.
Thank you, Tony. I think as a board, whenever we're, voting on providing money to different festivals, or, we need to, as a collective group, more heads are better than one, be able to throw that in as a caveat, like, yeah, we'll grant you this capital, but you have to do this as well. And we need this back, and you need to communicate with Sarah. I think that's super important. Should we move on? Thank you all. The VMI contract discussion, I think we've had a chance to take a look at it. Jim, you've done a great job of summarizing everything, so thank you.
So basically, the contract we looked at last month as a whole is the same contract that I'm going to present back out and make a motion on. The changes that were made were strictly in the year-to-year increase in funding. The original proposal from VMI was a 10% year-to-year. We changed it to 4%. That seemed to be the consensus in the group here. So we went down to 4%, but added the caveat that we could consider additional funding on a per request basis. So if we have a year when the expenses are just out of sight, then we need to consider, we can consider additional requests. For that matter, if there's projects out there, those are on a per request basis. So, and that's the reason I stated it as a per request basis, so that we weren't painting ourselves into a corner as to the type of request we might consider. And so I think I've emailed that out. Did everybody get a chance to look at the email and read through it? And so with that, I would make a motion that we approve the contract and move forward.
Second.
Yeah, first and a second, any discussion?
So the end date,
The end date is December 31st, thank you. 31st date of December 2025.
So we did the whole.
The three,
the 3
well,
years,
it's 2
9 months.
3/4
Okay.
months, yes.
So this doesn't encompass, okay. This isn't the.
No, you'll have a
nothing in the
turnover
2 years.
board before the next one comes around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any more discussion?
Yeah.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
You gotta vote.
Well, thank you
because
very much.
you call for a vote, doesn't mean you get abstain from a vote.
So I gotta do 2 things at once?
Yeah, you have to watch everybody and vote yourself. I know.
I get a job description.
Well, thank you very much for your confidence. Thank you for your continued partnership. And I'm looking forward to what we will continue to accomplish over the next 2 and some odd months, years, and even beyond that. So thank you very much.
Jim, thank you for expediting the process.
Yes.
Thank you all for your input over the past month.
Ron, thank you for sitting next to me and asking Jim to expedite the process.
You're welcome.
You good?
I'm good.
Can we carry on?
Carry
All
on.
right, here we go. Partnerships and projects. We did have a reading this agenda, don't we?
Not bad, right on it, right in order.
December partnership request, the Hanover horsepower.
We know what these totals were. I was trying to look back through what the requests were.
I think I did.
In the email I sent you, that was what the project
I
total
was trying to
was.
go back and look at that. That's what I couldn't.
And that
I'm
was,
sorry.
so, Hanover horsepower said the project cost was $150,000 and they requested $52,000.
They requested.
So the request was 50, I was just curious about requests, so 52,000. Comfort station,
So the project cost was 81, you just want the funds.
what they're requesting.
40,800.
And wayfinding
25,000.
and hotel study
85.
was yeah. I was back there. Hearing about that one. And Hanover Park,
3.25.
350.
350.
Should we tackle each one, obviously? Hanover horsepower.
My reaction to the proposal is that the Hanover House horsepower has great potential. Don't think I want to go 52,000. That's frankly steeper than we've gone with other projects of similar nature. And it's, you know, first year, essentially second year, but first year they've come to us for any funding. My inclination would be to go more in the neighborhood of 12,000.
You say 20?
That would be my inclination.
And they did say they have, what, 10,000 from both banks?
Yeah, they've got a
And
pretty good,
another 10 from Midwest Tool.
around $30,000, I think was what they had raised so far.
Yep.
So is that a motion?
Barring other discussion, I'll make that a motion. I'll make that a motion.
I'll second that.
Any discussion?
I think we need to add
Yes, I would like to, yes.
I should amend my motion to add the prerequisites for reporting after 90 days.
Is that in our,
It's in our
it's
new
new
application.
application?
They applied before, yeah.
He
Okay.
asked if he needed to fill out a new application, so, I mean, we could probably have him do that.
We
I
can
think we
just, I think we just let them know that.
Yeah,
We can
That's
just
part
send
of
them
it.
what, yeah.
sure.
So there's one motion on the table. You're amending it. Do we have?
Amending it to add the requirement for reporting.
Yeah, I'll
Okay.
second.
Okay.
You wanna vote on the amendment?
I know you can ask this out loud.
Sure.
Hey, this is just purely from a perspective of, what did you say I was earlier? A hog learner? A hog learner? I started going to city council just because I wanted to learn about where I lived and what I could do about it. So when I first started going to city council, I'd have to stay after and say, what were y'all just saying? Because I can't learn if I don't know. So I'm listening to you and enjoying it. I have no idea what Hanover horsepower is. And I'm trying to learn to be a better steward of our town.
Sure.
So if you can
It's a,
explain to idiots who don't know what you're talking about.
it's a local to Hanover car show and music festival that they're hosting at their city park. I think they have the Crashers as their headliner this year. Is that right? Louisville Crashers is their headliner.
It's of similar nature to a Riverfest, but on a much smaller scale. Where Riverfest has other activities that are involving barbecue, they have other activities that are involving the car show and tractors. That's not as important in this case as the potential to bring folks from out of town in.
It's a
to,
new event, new weekend
New
that we,
event,
you know,
yeah.
that we don't have occupied with something else, so.
it is a free weekend. It's for Jefferson County as a whole. Their weekend is the first weekend in August. And, unfortunately, we don't have quality numbers for history to see, so this is really a, seed money. Let's get it going. And then let's look at the reporting, see if it's bringing in tourists, to see if it's bringing in people that are staying overnight, see if it's bringing in people that are doing business with the local businesses. But realistically, I guess the best way to say this is nothing ventured, nothing gained.
To me, it's a lot like the car show in May that is now in the riverfront, other than they've added a concert to it. Last year was their first year. They had a horrible weather. So it really impacted, I think they had around 100 cars, I think, that showed up in the very bad weather, hail even. So I think that's this is similar to the rodeo. I think we're trying to, I don't want to say we're gambling. I think we're taking a risk on this investment into that event and see what it'll do.
I'm just curious.
Yeah,
When I
sure.
go- Like, I've lived here 4 years and I've never been to Hanover.
Wow.
Like,
They have a great walking path around their park, probably one of the best.
I mean, I know that sounds good, but like, man.
And they just they actually paved their walking path last year, right? So,
Thanks.
Yeah.
What are the dates again? I should know.
it's the first weekend, right?
Weekend of August.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there'll be a floating date, but
And, okay.
May I ask, just listening to the meeting from last month. I mean, we're voting on all this, so we're having a special meeting on February 6th.
For the applications that will be coming in through, not limited to, but through individually, JCTA. That'll need to be in possession of or submitted to Victoria by the 31st of this month at midnight. And then she volunteered to be able to say, okay, here's the applications. I'm gonna communicate with those people individually and give them time slots to come in their special meeting on February 6th.
What do you want?
And others, but it was
Okay.
more so, these are the ones who applied before we had
Before
finalized
Okay,
this,
so
and we didn't.
this isn't include, okay,
Yeah.
that was my concern. These are separate.
Yep. So we have 2 grant cycles and this
This is
isn't one of them.
This is not.
This is,
Essentially, you're gonna have 3,
right.
But this isn't one, this is
Because
not
you're gonna
the
have
start of our grant.
2 for 2023, and this is a carryover
February
from
and then
22, I
August.
guess.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
so this is before that. Just need to clarify that. Okay.
So, all right, so we have a motion. We have an amended motion, which is $20,000 from Jim Bartlett to horsepower. And the caveat is they need to communicate with the Google Analytics with Sarah Purcell at VMI. And we want that information back
90 days
within
within
90 days.
90 days after
report.
their event, yeah. And they need to communicate now. Okay, I'll ask it then. So that's the motion on the table, on the floor.
I second.
All right, we've had our discussion. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Now, my question is, I'll,
Usually in discussion.
Yeah.
well, I was hoping it passed for you. So
Little did
I'll,
you know, though.
I'll call, cause Sean King's the one who presented it.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'll need to give him a call and tell him that, we allotted him $20,000 based off these, what we just
And we'll
talked about.
approve their payment at our next, if we want to approve their claims on the 6th of February, we can do it then. If not, it'll be our regular February meeting, which means they'll get paid sometime in March.
And then they can go pick up the check
Mhm.
at,
The auditor's office.
gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay, that was my question. Next up, Madison Comfort Station for 40,000.
I would, the 2 Madison projects, I would group those together and move that we approve, excuse me, $65,800 for those 2 projects. And I'm extremely excited to see the wayfinding one finally take place since we've talked about it before, so.
And I'll second that motion.
Any discussion?
So, being treasurer now, we're gonna need to go back and ask for more money in that line item. I know we have it.
We have, yeah, we haven't
So-
even set the 23 one yet. I haven't given her that worksheet. We presented,
Well,
yeah,
yeah, you did. I mean.
I'll help you with that
I
change
mean, we
request.
put 200,000 in for
Correct.
2023, that's what I'm saying, so.
Yeah.
I'm just, I know it's, and just, the guy that does it every time, so, but I mean, we just have to be a little more disciplined and moving, if we're gonna, or we need to set our budget much higher.
Well, I,
And
again,
that may be where we end up, and that's
we didn't
okay.
know what our
Sure, I understand.
income was gonna finish out, you know, we didn't know what we had scaled back on some of those other investments, so I think we were being very conservative when we
Yeah,
put
well, I
that
agree.
budget together in August or July was when I came over here. So, but I agree, we can fix we can have a change request, update that worksheet with the auditor's office.
I mean, I don't think we need to do it today, but.
Oh, no.
Shortly.
Sure.
We're gonna go through the.
Sure.
By the February meeting, we'll
Yeah.
have spent the.
The
So
grant
when
cycle.
when do you recommend that we do the change order?
We'll,
Well, I
we'll
think
do
we
it
need
at
to
the
see-
February meeting.
Yeah, we need
The
to see what.
27th or the?
We need to see what we come out of the
That's fine.
February 6th.
That's fine.
The,
That's
That will tell us.
That's good.
Yeah, that cycle. I
That makes
guess.
sense. Yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense. Okay. So any discussion? We have a first and a second. Any discussion? Any more discussion? That was
Just
good
wanna make
discussion.
sure that both of these items are heavy in tourism component.
Oh, the wayfinding is no doubt.
Yeah.
Probably our biggest weakness as a visitor experience is they don't even know where a parking lot is, cause we don't really have anything to direct them to that. And then the comfort station is probably the heaviest used public restroom facility we have.
And if you've got a VMI kiosk in there and someone occupying that to communicate, this is where we need to go.
And is that part of the deal?
Yes.
And there will be a person in there?
We've got to work on the timing. It may not be
Even on part-time.
Yeah, it may not be.
Full-time position.
the entire time it's open, but especially on heavy visitor days, be weekends or
Weekends, yeah.
special events.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll all have a key.
Yeah, I think we'll all be working. We may call up Ron to take a shift on some weekends or something.
You'll do it.
It's I'm
You don't have
very,
any other spot on the board.
That's right.
That's
I was gonna hang out the
what
conversation.
happens when you.
That's right.
I'm not sure
Yeah.
I'm a new guy, I don't know where.
I'm the new guy. Yeah.
I'm gonna plan going to Louisville, I don't know.
We get your button.
Okay.
on the comfort station, I just want to say, it's a great project. Visit Madison is ecstatic, to have the opportunity to partner with the city. I see it as a win-win-win-win.
What's the total expense on that, total?
We hope it to do it around 80,000. And it's a refresh, right? So it's, paint, tile.
It is a sweet little building. yeah.
Does that include the paving out back or is that separate?
No, that's separate. That's all separate. So this is really just the exterior of the building, refresh lighting, new tile, new paint, new ceiling tile, new fixtures. Adds up quick.
Tony, is that gonna start this year?
We hope to start here in the next 35 to 45 days.
Okay.
And be done by June. If we can't hit that date, then we'll have it done this year. We're gonna try to work around festivals.
Cool.
It's good for our visitors, it's good for the business on Main Street, it's good for the city, it's good for Visit
And it's
Madison.
been 25 years, so it's.
It's
a long time coming.
It's exciting.
Any more discussion?
Give me-
All in favor?
Thank you. Very much.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Hotel study for Town of Hanover, $8,500.
That's great. That's a good.
To me, I think this again is another no-brainer that anytime we've got an opportunity to do a hotel study. So I'll move that we approve the $8,500 to the town of Hanover for the hotel study.
I think.
We'll let Ron have it since he doesn't do anything else.
Yeah.
Hit me, no.
Hey, Dave, hey, Dave, he's the new guy. Let him, you know,
Get them named in the minutes.
any discussion?
You know, I don't remember who it was that told me, but somebody mentioned that the last time a hotel study was done in Jefferson County was 5, 6 years ago. And certainly in Hanover, I think it's well worthwhile. This is pure tourism.
Yeah.
You know, this is what we're all about, so.
I think this is, if I can just throw in my thoughts on it, again, no brainer, it's a great thing. The landscape for hotels has changed immensely since the cotton mill came on board in Jefferson County. But I just ask that you all get a copy of that for your own information and also to share with us. So that it helps the majority of people, that need to know what the results of the study are. And the consultant working on it has already reached out to me, to start getting some information. So I think it's a very positive thing.
Who is the consultant?
Yeah, that was one of my questions, was who is this group and are they good at what they do?
So they're out of Wisconsin?
Look,
Do they do a lot of them or do they do a few of them or?
Hotel R&D LLC.
Yeah, I looked them up.
Mike Lindner is the person that I have been in touch
But
with.
if the city of Hanover feels good about it, you know, I'm willing to support it. It is a question though. I mean, there are some companies that do these hotel valuation studies that are huge. And they do thousands of them, you know. They have a great track record for being accurate.
Any feedback on this thing?
You said you've been in contact with him already, Andrew?
He reached out to me and wanted to meet and talk about the overall visitor experience and tourism in Jefferson County.
I know you will, just make sure we get that study when you're communicating. with him.
Vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if you guys.
Absolutely.
Well, I think
Okay.
again, we put that in the,
The,
we put that in the, part of the agreement. Mhm.
Any more discussion? Nope. So do we need to go back? Yeah,
Go back.
To amend to
to
put the,
amend.
I think if we're adding it to that, it's in the clause of that
Yeah, we're at.
grant cycle, so I think.
Okay.
I think that's just gonna be part of their, when. the state's
Requirement
It'll
on
be
to-
the
our
agreement.
requirement for everything. that
From
we-
now on.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries. Future meetings, just so we.
So
That's-
there is one there and they are
Oh, yeah,
gonna
yeah,
wait,
my bad,
so
my bad.
I've talked to them to say, let's do some planning. I know they got some ideas, let's get some plannings and see what the cost is gonna be, and I'm pretty sure they're gonna put together a package and go for Ready 2.0.
Are you talking,
For the Hanover Park.
Or
For the
I skipped it, my
350.
fault.
Right, no, that's fine, but
okay,
you know,
we're not, it's not in play tonight.
no,
Okay.
no, I think we can wait. It may be, it depends on what Ready 2.0 provides. There may be some other things, but I think the county, I mean, it's a. I know people, I'm a guy that proposes plans. Yes, I am. I think we need a plan, but if you want money, you better have a plan. Cause ideas are nice, but if you don't have a plan. We don't know what you're spending it on, so, and they were in agreement with that, so they're gonna go and. They've got some engineers out there, so put together an estimate of what you think a plan would be, and we can talk at that point.
So if we need a motion on it, I would move that we table the Hanover Park expansion proposal pending.
Ready 2.0.
Pending
Additional input.
additional information.
Right, they're gonna put that together. And I think,
The last time I talked to them, they were still figuring out their DNR grant and their Parks Master Plan and what had changed, you know, what was approved, what wasn't, and they have some other donations they're working on. So, yeah, I think they were just trying to see what kind of interest they could drum up with support. As they're still working to get more details.
yeah. And the land where they want to build it at is you gotta be careful in that land, because it's not exactly the driest of places.
It's slow.
So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to
Crawdaddy country.
work through that. So they understood that, and they were just, like I said,
Is there any discussion with them about whether or not this is actually a tourism project?
well, I think it gets back to sports tourism, because in the end, they're gonna have fields where they can have tournaments. And
Yeah, I don't think they're adding a splash pad. I don't think that's something that we're gonna support through a grant, because I don't think that is gonna draw people to Hanover to stay all night and use their splash pad. I don't think that is the
And
catch.
that's,
But they're, improving into fields,
baseball field.
trying to make a bigger area for concerts and music festivals, because they're, the Crashers is probably about the biggest group they could get out there because of draw and where they're at. But the new area, I think, is gonna open up some capacity on that.
the reason I mention it is because I'm just gonna say, my opinion about these kind of projects is that we're a tourism board and we should not be funding things that the city or the county are the primary beneficiaries of. They should have a heavy tourism component. And I know that the boundary is vague, but it is, there are decisions to be made there, and I'm not gonna be one who spends a lot of money doing things that city and county should be doing that don't have tourism component in them. So I'll just say it. Jefferson County, this is my opinion, has the richest tourism potential in the state already. And what's the problem? The problem is that the organizations and the volunteers are not being supported at the grassroots level. And I'm not really interested in investing a lot of money in risky, shiny objects that don't support the people who are actually doing the work. Because those are risky. Sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't. You're smart to put some of your money in long-term things that you know are gonna have a good benefit, but just because we have a pile of money in the bank doesn't mean we ought to try to imagine the biggest project we can come up with. I want to see the groups, people that are doing the work get more money. So I made my speech.
I agree, and I hope those groups fill out the request, because we've been talking about
Yeah.
supporting those groups more the last couple of years, and we've still continued to get very little traction. So hopefully with the Tourism Alliance and a different approach, that those groups will see that benefit.
Yeah.
Cause I
They
agree with you.
They produce the product.
What I was going to say, going back, Kim, as I was looking at you. Redoing the comfort station, I mean, are we gonna get some art stuff?
There's murals there, up to Tony, whether he wants to
Okay.
keep those murals, or we could
Redo? or-
redo a ton of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Sky's the limit on that one.
Okay.
That's a dream that, gosh, long time ago, that happened.
And, the public arts component for the city now is, gonna be managed and run by the Public Arts Commission, so they will start to manage the locations and the rotation of art. We'll start to manage that. We have a working session going up to the consultant on the guidelines for the new Public Arts Commission, so those will be questions that commission will ultimately work through and look at that, but certainly we want to keep public art in our projects and are trying to incorporate that throughout all the city projects the best we can. So.
Yeah, I
We've
was
been
thinking
really
a comfort
fortunate.
station, wow, that would just be
Yeah, right.
really neat to have something.
We're really fortunate right now because we have city leadership and county leadership that's really open to this. And, arts tourism is it. And it's that experience tourism, that arts and culture, which we have in abundance.
Mhm.
So we just have to nurture it. So we're very fortunate that Tony calls you know, every day.
So real quick, so we've got a motion on the table. Jim made a motion for Hanover Parks expansion to table it, barring gathering more information at a future date. I'm prefacing, do we have a second? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Let's move on for the final here, the future meetings. We will have February 6th, our special meeting, which we discussed that earlier a while ago.
Is that here?
Yes.
Are we here the whole year?
Yep.
And we will hear those. Victoria will reach out to you. We'll hear those on the 6th, and we will discuss and make decisions on the 27th. I won't be here on the 27th. I will be on a Zoom call.
So Victoria's gonna be.
Victoria's gonna be in charge, and I will support her.
So you'll send us a list of who all applied and what their requests
Yeah.
are and that kind of stuff. So anybody that applies, will see those. It's not, you're not cutting anything prior to.
No, I just asked for a.
Yeah, I just making sure.
And they're all.
I assume that's what was happening.
They're all going to that county,
Email address?
which we can all access. We just have to
Okay.
get with you because you get the text about the, getting into it. Just ask for the 31st so that it gives me time to
Gotcha.
schedule those.
Yep.
But yeah, we'll make sure everybody knows.
Sounds good.
Okay,
Guys, that
that'll
was
be
a great-
6:30?
Yeah,
I mean, normal time
Absolutely.
for that. Okay.
that was a great meeting, and Dave, thank you. For allowing me to try this, so.
Hey, I ain't trying this. You got it.
Hey, hang on, public, anybody from the public have anything to ask, say? Foot race, high fives, okay, meeting adjourned.
I'll move to adjourn.
All in favor?
All in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carries, we're adjourned.